Okay, so I have decided to create a series of IGTVs to kind of answer a few questions and create some resources for couples. I know that it's that time of year where there are a ton of you who are engaged, or maybe a bunch of couples who are working through their COVID weddings and maybe trying to downsize or figure out how to elope instead of have the big wedding, or maybe you've just been engaged a long time. Whatever the case may be, it's the kind of that time of year where things are kind of crazy right now. My husband and I are renovating our kitchen, and I'm working on a bunch of back-end stuff for my business, and I have my 9 to 5, which has been pretty busy. So long story short, I haven't really had time to sit down and write resources to put on my website like I had done last year. So I am trying something new. I'm going to try to start creating a couple of IGTVs and put them out there every few days, every couple of weeks. That way the resources are out there and the information is shared. And then if there are certain IGTVs videos that do better than others, then maybe I will kind of elaborate on those and create a more in-depth resources on my website. So to get started, the first one, I want to talk about the process of booking with me and working with me, and how that process might look a little bit different than working with other photographers. So at first, I just kind of want to talk about the process of what actually booking with me and working with me looks like. And then in that, I'll also kind of discuss my personal approach to certain things, and just so you kind of get a better idea of what it's like to work with me as opposed to some other photographer. So without further ado, let's get into it. The very first step to working with me, of course, is not necessarily inquiring, but figuring out if I am the right photographer for you. So I think that a lot of couples get caught up in hiring somebody based off of one of two things. Their work on Instagram and Instagram alone, so just going by a feed. And then the second thing is price. And pricing and finding the right photographer is actually something that I'm going to talk about in a separate video, because I think that that is something that really needs to be addressed. So I'm not going to talk about that too much right now, but in your hunt for a photographer, no matter what it's for, whether it's for your family photos or for engagement photos, or whether you are eloping or getting married and you need a wedding photographer, I do think it's so important to just go by more than just a feed. I think that it's really important to really take some time to search on the person's website, look at their work, really read their Instagram captions, get a feel for who they are, and do the same thing for me as well. So get a feel for who I am. Of course, you're not going to learn who I am just by my Instagram captions or what I write on my website, but don't just even just beyond me, don't just go into your shopping assuming that the work alone or the final product is enough. I really am somebody who genuinely believes that the experience of working with a photographer is what's really going to either push your photos to the next level and make you love them even more, or maybe the opposite direction. So even if the photos are beautiful but you had a terrible experience, or you and the photographer just didn't jive, then you're probably gonna like your photos less. But anyways, I'm talking too much about that. That's gonna be a separate video, finding the right photographer for you. But for me, I think the very first step to booking with me is just determine if I'm the right photographer for you. Get a feel for who I am, what my approach is all about. Feel free to ask me questions. You can DM me, we can set up a call, you can email me, whatever. Just get a feel for who I am. And then if you like my work, like who I am, like what I have to say, get a good vibe, then we inquire. So I think that this second step is really important too, depending on, not depending on, but regardless of what kind of photos you want, even if you are just going to get an engagement session or you just want something simple, I think it's really important to spend some time on the inquiry form. So to inquire with me, there's a couple different ways that you can do this. You can either DM me to check my availability, which is fine, but I think the preferred method for me as well as other photographers is just to go on my website and fill out that inquiry form and spend some time on it. Like, really answer the questions, because I think that the better I know you, the better I can serve you in whatever session you're having. So if it's an elopement, really write about you guys and how you met, how you got engaged. Like, don't be afraid to share those details. Even if you really do just need availability information or pricing information before you make any decisions. Still, like, let's get to know each other in that process. Let's kind of skip a couple steps ahead and assume we're going to work together. That way, on step 3, this next step, we're already kind of already rolling with things. So once you fill out that inquiry form, I get back to people within usually a day or two. I'm really quick. I am not somebody who gets puts off inquiries for later in the week. I answer them right away. And maybe that's bad, but if something pops up on my phone, and even if it's 7 o'clock at night and I'm making dinner, I'm gonna stop what I'm doing, run to my office, answer that inquiry. I can't have them just sitting in my inbox. I have to get back to people. So, and I like to think that my communication is pretty good and pretty quick. So usually you're gonna hear back from me at least within 48 hours, if not sooner. And if you don't, it's most likely because I never received your inquiry. So feel free to follow up with an email or to DM me. Once I receive your inquiry form, the third step is setting up a phone call. And I think that this is the most important step in the booking process. My phone calls usually last about 45 minutes to an hour. And it's not that we're talking about photography the whole time. We're actually usually only answering questions for 15 minutes. The rest of the phone call is literally just us chatting and getting to know each other and getting a feel for each other's personalities, each other's vibes. We can talk about your day, what you're looking for, just your hopes and your dreams. We can talk about what you guys do for a living, what you guys do for fun, literally just get to know each other. I love using this time to set up video chats with my couples too. You can have a drink while you're on the phone with me or on the video chat. I'm usually in my sweats. My cats are running around playing. So we just get a really good feel for each other and if it's going to work. And I think that that is something that every single person that you book for your wedding, you should be doing. It shouldn't just be, what's your pricing? Pick the person with the best pricing and then book them. I think that for the best wedding experience especially, you really need to be getting to know your vendors on a one-to-one basis, getting a feel for their personalities and if that personality is going to jive with the rest of your day. I think that a lot of couples get kind of caught up in the price tags, and while you definitely, of course, need to adhere to a budget, I think the most important thing in any of it is making sure that your money isn't going to waste, that you're giving your money to somebody who you can really fully trust is going to deliver the product and the experience that you are paying all this money for. So I hope that makes sense. But long story short, I think that that phone call is really important, and they're usually just so informal and so fun. And yeah, so once we're done with the phone call, pretty much within the next hour, I will put together and send over a project proposal for you. And I do this for everybody I have a phone call with. And it's no pressure on my couples to pay anything or book me or sign anything or anything like that. It's just a copy of the contract and then a view of what the payment is going to look like. That way, as soon as you're ready to go to the next step, you have all that information right there in front of you. You don't have to ask for it. So I shoot that right over to both of your emails if it's a wedding. I'll send it to both of you and you'll have all of that information to look at. Just keep in mind that your date is not held. I don't hold dates or anything like that. I used to long ago when I wasn't as busy, but now that I get more inquiries and my calendar is like always full, I don't hold a date. So if you've inquired with me for your date, just know that it's not yours and you're not booked until the contract is signed and that 50% retainer is fulfilled. But yeah, the second that's fulfilled and all that's ready, you've both signed, you're booked, and I'll send you a confirmation. I also immediately send over a planning guide. So if it's for like a couple session, then I'll send over like this nice little couple session guide, helps you figure out what kind of location to pick, how to make the couple session really fun, what to wear, what time of day works best, all that good stuff. And then if it's an elopement or a wedding, then I send over a wedding planning guide. And that has everything you could possibly need as a base to work off of for planning either an elopement or a wedding. It's a really meaty guide. And it's something I'm always adding to too. And then throughout the planning process, we're communicating the whole time. So for couple sessions, they're usually not as far out. There usually isn't much planning involved. It's usually just kind of a quick conversation or quick meeting where we decide when and where we're going to meet. For elopements and weddings, I pretty much, like, my role as your photographer, of course, is to take photos, but it's also like I really love to be a part of the planning process as much as you want me to. So I'm not going to be like bombarding you with questions and having to know everything. I'm not going to be booking your vendors for you. You guys are responsible for all of that. Just know in the planning process, no question is too small. I am 100% like your advocate throughout the entire process. So I can send you vendor recommendations. I can help you find flights. I can help you find really nice places to stay. I can shop online for your wedding attire and things you're gonna wear. I'm happy to send you some, put together some like styling boards for your location and what kind of like flowers and stuff I think that would look photograph best for your location, all that good stuff. I also love to educate throughout this process, love to educate my couples on a leave no trace. So this is something that I think that any elopement photographer should be educating their couples on. It's just kind of how to be in the outdoors in a respectful manner. So all of those resources are sent your way. We're planning, we're setting up as many phone calls and meetings as you need as a couple. And then about 2 weeks before your day is when we hash out all the final details. So we finalize your timeline, we figure out when and where we're going to be meeting, get each other's contact information, all that good stuff. And then of course the day before, I will also be reaching out to you just to confirm all those things to make sure nothing has changed. And so, I haven't forgotten about you. I think that there's so many scary stories of photographers not showing up, and that's like awful. The actual day of and what it's like to be behind my camera is something that I'm going to talk about in a separate IGTV. I think that the actual experience of working with me and what it's like to get your picture taken by me is just a separate conversation. So that's something I'll talk about separately. But for all of my sessions, whether it's an elopement or wedding or a couple session, I send sneak peeks usually within a couple of days. That's a great chance for you to kind of share your experience via social media or with family and friends. And then you receive your full gallery. For weddings and elopements, it's about 4 to 6 weeks after your day. And then for a couple sessions, it's usually about 2 to 3 weeks after your day. You'll receive the full gallery. And the gallery is all digital. It's all cloud-based. It's like a hyperlink that you get. You click on it and it opens up your gallery so you can share. You can download the high-res files, and there is also a print shop attached if you want to order prints. So it's all right there. And then of course I always encourage all of my couples to keep in touch with me after the day of so that we can be friends for a long time. And I hope that this video was helpful. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future resources, just let me know.